We've got psychics, we've got robots, we've got psychic robots here on the OSMcast. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the OSMcast, your podcast for everything awesome. I'm John.
I'm Kevin.
I'm Abby.
Yes. First of all, welcome, Abby. Welcome to the shit show that I have conjured.
Thank you.
Basil wanted no part of this, and honestly, it was probably the right call. I wanted to dig up the OSMcast ? Show type. I wanted to talk, I've got like a whole list of dumb shows that we can talk about. And for this, I wanted to bring Abby on with us. Abby's been a friend of ours for a while. I know her primarily through our Discord, which you, dear listener, should join. Because you can be friends with Abby too.
It's a cool Discord. We get into a lot of Discord in Discord.
Yes. And also, go ahead and mash that subscribe button if you haven't already. Whatever podcast player you're listening to this shit on, go ahead and hit us with that. It's a lot of interviews of late. Also some Final Fantasy 14 stuff if you're into that. We got some other stuff in the hopper. It'll come to you eventually. I don't know when. I'm not in charge of that. But today we're going to be talking about the 1993 horror cyberpunk anime Genocyber, the cyber monster from Imaginary World.
Which is a great subtitle, but
it's a terrific subtitle for a show that's just total hot garbage. But we'll get into that. But before we do that, let's do a moment of awesome.
It's a moment of awesome.
All right, so I'm the one running the show, so I'm the one who gets to say my moment of awesome is Baldur's Gate 3.
Of course.
It would have been mine if it hadn't been yours.
Yeah, the fruit that is hanging so low, it has been planted and has formed a new tree. It's such a fucking incredible game. It is not a perfect game. I want to be clear about this. It's not a perfect game. It's not a game for everybody. But damn if it's not just a marvel of storytelling. And it's the D&D game I've always wanted. It really is. It has those elements. Like if you're a real Forgotten Realms nerd like I am, there'll be plenty of stuff from the books that you will be like, oh my god, this is in here. I can roleplay as this.
I'm surprised how many things there was. I was like, wait, I know that from one of those books I read as an angsty teenager.
Yeah, there are so many funny, incredible, well-thought moments, and your decisions matter, and your playthrough is going to be vastly different from anyone else's. It just is. It's got a ton of content and a ton of replayability. I've been playing it on PS5. It looks great. I've gotten to Act 3, which is where the game has had some performance issues, notably. For me, it's been running fairly well. Like I haven't noticed
few crashes in Act 3 when it's been a pretty smooth run so far on the PS5 also.
Yeah.
Act 3 is as far as I got on a computer before my computer just went, nope.
No more.
That city's got a lot of crowd people moving around, and and lots of little details in a fairly compressed space. And I mean, it's actually a really big space. There's just a lot of density of objects to interact with. And my computer just kind of like, nope, can't run that.
Yeah, it's funny because Acts 1 and 2, the populations that you're moving among are fairly sparse. Like, there are characters there, But it's not like Baldur's Gate, the city, where you've got dozens of characters wandering around. You can walk up, interact with them, whatever. But it's pretty impressive, and like I said, on PS5, it's run fairly well. I've not noticed anything like too dramatically awful. And everything I've read, the PS5 version runs at pretty much equivalent to like ultra settings on the PC. So if you've got a PS5, that's probably that's the way I would recommend people play this game is to play it on PS5 because you don't have to worry about melting your computer. The console runs it fairly well. But Kevin, you had another video game on yours, and I'm excited to hear about this.
Yeah, because somebody took Baldur's Gate 3 already.
That
I was
fucking asshole.
Between the point of where I realized, my computer just isn't going to run Baldur's Gate past this point, so I guess I'm waiting for PS5 because I'm going to play me some more Baldur's Gate. I played, what also came out was Armored Core 6. There hasn't been a new Armored Core game in quite a while. It's from Software, our friends who've made Elden Ring and the whole Dark Souls series and Bloodborne. But except in this one, you got a giant robot you build that you can then run around and blow things up and skim around real fast and fly around. And it's not any less hard in the boss fights than your typical Dark Souls game. Although I heard they've just nerfed a few of the harder bosses. They were proving to be too big of a roadblock for everybody, apparently. Admittedly, I've not gotten through the game because Baldur's Gate 3 came out from PS5, but once I'm going to go back to it for sure. It apparently has you have to play through the game 3 times to get the whole story. On subsequent replays, which you do get to keep all your stuff. On subsequent replays, you'll unlock alternate paths or alternate mission goals that you can choose to take, which change the narrative flow of the story. And apparently, despite, this is a game where everyone is a voice on the radio, has a surprising bit of narrative depth. Like, there's stuff going on. Like, you can just ignore it. If you just want to blow stuff up, you can breeze through the little story sequences and mission briefing and not realize there's actually a whole lot of story going on. But it's like all in radio conversations. But there's a lot of customization, a lot of flexibility. You can make all kinds of robot builds, and you're guaranteed to have completely the wrong one at some point in the game, and you'll have to go back to your hangar and go, okay, what else do I got in my inventory? Maybe I should sell some stuff and buy new stuff, which is okay because things sell for the same price you buy them, so you're not really feel penalized at all for if, like, I have the totally wrong build for this, and I'm going to have to make something entirely different. It is not, well, I don't know. I haven't seen it since its latest patch, but at least my experience was it's not a super easy game. It's actually kind of tough. The tutorial has a really tough boss fight at the end just because you have no customization options yet. You're stuck with what you start with, and there's this giant helicopter that will rain death on you. You will learn how the game plays or you will die. And it'll let you try that. It'll let you go through it as many times as you want until you learn how the game is played.
Of course.
But I don't know. I like the Armored Core series. I'm a sucker for a robot game. I like me some big robots. They got Shoji Kawamori back on the design team, and some other big name mecha designers. And I believe, one of the guys who did a lot of the G-Witch designs is on there. It's like a lot of the grunt mecha he designed, and honestly, the Witch from Mercury grunt mecha were pretty cool and looked pretty Armored Core, to be honest, to start with. But but it's fun, mix and match. Try to build your favorite, real robot, anime robot. You kind of can get into the decal designer and somehow create like actual anime art out of a bunch of shapes that shouldn't make anime art. The Japanese fans are nuts. They will make art with that. They will make whole portraits of anime characters and replicate. You can share it too. So like if you go searching on the internet, you can find stuff people have already made. Can't share cross-platform, But as long as they've made it on the same platform you're playing on, you can, and they should have the code, you can download it to your own system if you find something cool. And I probably talked longer about it than I need to. It's a fun game, and I will probably actually finish it once I get done with Baldur's Gate, because Baldur's Gate is like 100 plus hours and you're still not done with it. You might not even be in Act 3 yet. But good time. It's Armor Core 6 is if you want something more actiony, if you're not, the turn-based fantasy fan. If you're a turn-based fantasy fan, get Baldur's Gate 3. If you like, high-speed action, giant robot shooting stuff, Armored Core 6. If you like both, whichever appeals to you that day.
All right, Abby, what you got for us?
I guess I'd like to talk about the live-action One Piece adaptation, because I finished that with Hank probably last week, and I was very impressed with how actually good it ended up being.
Yeah.
Because usually anime live action is terrible.
Yeah.
Usually very, very awful, especially since the people that worked on this worked on the Bebop one. So obviously I was like, ooh, this is gonna suck. But I was very, very happy with it kind of reveled in how sincere it was, because I feel like a lot of American TV that adapts usually anime stuff, or usually just a lot of nerd stuff in general, kind of is always making a joke out of it. This doesn't make sense. This is silly. When it's yes, it's a cartoon. It's silly. Why do you have to keep making comments about how it's silly? So I've been enjoying that. And I really like how they remixed a lot of the songs that already exist in the anime and made it their own. I really, really thought that was very nice. And of course, Nami, she's my new favorite in that now. Zoro and Chopper will always be my favorite in the anime, but in the live action, I love Nami.
In LADY, Nami's not shy.
Yeah, exactly. But I would definitely recommend it to most people. Even people who haven't watched One Piece, I feel like it's a good way to kind of see if maybe you would be interested in trying One Piece out, because of how big and daunting it is.
I made very little penetration into the actual manga/anime of One Piece. In fact, the live action has gone past the point of the animated or manga I have seen. But I'm kind of feeling well, this is not a bad way to get people interested. Maybe then you do try to crack that, 1,000+ episode.
Yeah, luckily they have lists that show you what episodes are filler that you can just basically ignore. That's pretty much what me and Hank have been doing. We've just been ignoring the filler because it'll take too damn long. We actually watched all of that.
So you've watched 13 episodes then.
Look, if you watch one episode a day, it'll only take you about 3.5 years to get caught up.
Yeah, we definitely take breaks. So we don't just watch One Piece because I know we'd eventually get burnt out.
Yeah.
Couldn't be me, dog. Couldn't be me. I just can't do it.
That's fair.
I've legit considered trying to hop on at the start of the most recent arc or something, because I have a vague knowledge of who the characters are, just because I've got friends who are way more into One Piece than I am. I kind of vaguely know who everyone is. But yeah, I don't know. There's liable to be a real OSMcast episode about One Piece live action. Not promising. I just feel like it's likely to happen.
Yeah.
But it was a good time. I definitely recommend it, whether you're a fan of the original series or not. It's a good way to, test the water. Bum. No pun intended. I didn't intend to pun when I said it, but
All right. Well, we're gonna set sail for Genocyber. But first, we're gonna take a quick break. we're back. Genocyber. All right. Well, let's go over just the some of the.
It's a cyborg, and it commits genocide. It's a Genocyber.
So what we'll be talking about today is the OVA series, which is loosely based on the manga created by Tony Takezaki. I don't know how
See, well,
Mr. Takezaki-san started going by Tony, but
that name. I know him for the 80 Police manga, which is actually pretty excellent. Which is
good.
The loose inspiration for the first 80 Police Files prequel to Bubblegum Crisis animated series. And much like Genocyber, the manga is excellent. And like the first episode of the 80 Police anime actually kind of resembles the manga. After that, it's a little all over the place. I feel like Genocyber might also be like that.
I was going to say, is the manga excellent? Because it did not last long.
It is unfinished. I admittedly cannot say towards the Genocyber manga. I've read one manga by this guy. I liked it. That doesn't mean all his manga are good.
Yes.
I mean, let's just go ahead and say it. This was not it. This was not good.
Yeah. He does seem to like cybernetics and body horror, though. That does seem to be his bag.
that is for sure his bag.
Yes.
This was directed by Koichi Ohata, who went on to direct Burst Angel, some of the later seasons of Iki Tosen. He worked on Gunbuster. This was not his finest hour, but hey, you gotta start somewhere.
But he was like the MD Geist guy, wasn't he?
Or
he
was.
Yeah, I remember the right guy. So that's not too far off from this.
Yeah, not too far.
Yeah.
There's a logical progression if you look at his work. He's also done assorted mecha design for a lot of stuff over the years.
This is also very of its time. Like, this is definitely something that would not come out nowadays. Not even because it's offensive, but just because I feel like more people would be like, we want better writing than this.
Well, you used to just be able to, during the bubble economy, and you could just walk into an animation studio with like an idea scribbled on a cocktail napkin, and they just give you a wheelbarrow of money to make anime with it.
True.
It's like you just needed a dream, and it's like, here you go. Will it sell? Doesn't matter. Our money's gonna roll in forever. There's no teat to this mountain.
The 10 dorks who will like this will fuel the money that we need for this.
That was kind of the theory at the time. You know,
very much.
And also the direct-to-video market, even in Japan, then it was still kind of this is where the real edgy stuff is. You know, this is.
Yeah, this was if you want the darker stuff, this is what you watch.
Yeah.
I mean, I was really fucking into 90s OVAs. I'm not gonna lie. Growing up as a kid, I was like, oh my god, this is so fucking good.
No, same. I was the same way.
I did not see this though when it came out in the 90s. Like, I did not see this until I was a full ass adult. You know, probably a few years ago, because I know this was a McKay's trip that I was like, oh, this looks awful. I'll buy it.
I saw the first episode before I did this watch here for this podcast. I had seen the first episode and thought the first episode sure seemed like a promising start, all things considered.
And, you know, we'll talk about it more, but the first episode was definitely the best, and it kind of went downhill from there. I did want to point out that Shinji Aramaki is listed as a producer, and I find that just absolutely weird. It's like, did he do some work on this and then like wanted to get as far away from it as possible? So they slapped him on as a producer.
Well, it's like an Artmic anime. I mean, like Shinji Aramaki's is in a lot of anime credits, good and bad.
Yeah.
He's just involved in a lot of anime.
He's like, I need the work, I'll do it. Whatever pays my bills, I guess.
The dub on this has a bit of an interesting tale because the first 3 episodes were dubbed by Manga Entertainment. and the last 2 were dubbed by Central Park Media / US Manga Corps. Yeah, I guess Manga Entertainment after the first 3 was like, nah, we don't really want to do the last 2 episodes. And honestly, from a business perspective, probably the right move. But Central Park Media did release the last 2 episodes and then all 5 as a collection. So that's interesting. Central Park Media, here's the thing: both Manga Entertainment and Central Park Media both had some uneven dub releases in the 90s. When people talk about shitty dubs, like this is what they're talking about.
Yes.
For the longest time, and maybe their whole run, Central Park Media used like Fairy Dreamin' from the Genocyber soundtrack in their trailers, like their compilation trailers of the stuff they sold. That. Like that was like, it's like watching Genocyber, and it's like, that's where that song's from.
Yeah.
And they both had some decent dubs. Central Park Media, though, actually was where like Lisa Ortiz and Crispin Freeman both got their start.
Oh yeah, that would be, wouldn't it?
I felt like the Central Park episode dubs were actually better than the manga ones. I mean, not by a lot, but a little bit better.
I feel like I might have missed something. I might have missed something going with Japanese subtitle.
Yeah, you definitely missed like the awful, like the true awfulness. It's like when you add sea salt to caramel because you really just bring out that sweetness and everything starts to pop. Yeah, the dub is the sea salt on this piece of shitty caramel. It's so bad. Like there's one part in particular that just stays with me in episode 1.
Oh.
Because we have our main protagonist and her sister, and then we've got the little kid who's the main character's friend, and then somewhere along the line we get more cyborgs who aren't Vajranoids. They're just weird fucking cyborgs. They're like boomers from
yeah. Just no cyborgs are just a thing that exists in this world. No real explanation.
Like boomers from Bubblegum Crisis with even more body horror attached to it.
Yeah.
And like the ones that are chasing after the protagonist, there's like 2 dudes and a female, and the female at one point, and we'll get into spoilers and get into the nitty-gritty of these episodes later, but I just want to talk about it. The female at one point, she goes, I don't know what that thing is, but I know what I want to do to it. And she sings songs. I want to kill it.
I forgot that was crazy.
It was so fucking weird. It was such a weird choice.
Wow.
I want to kill it.
Wow, the English dub sounds like a whole different animal. I might have to go with.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. The screaming that Elaine does. I don't know what her name is in Japanese, but
That's Elaine and Diana. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, but her scream was like, I was like, this is the take that they chose.
Yeah, this is what the director went with.
Yeah,
I feel like in the actual Japanese, everyone is going with a little more, gravitas and professionalism. Unfortunately, perhaps,
No, that is not the case in the dub, and
they're treating the bad movie seriously in the Japanese version.
yeah. I feel like my favorite line from the first episode was like this douchebag guy who was being mean to this little kid, and he said something like, "Oh, why don't you go get some pussy or something?" I'm like, this kid is like 8 years old.
That line almost isn't to that effect. It's also in the Japanese version. I imagine the substance isn't wildly different. It's just probably more expletives.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot of
fucking A.
Yeah. They have like New York accents.
That'd be very manga entertainment in the 90s, that they like watch the Angel Cop dub sometime. There's, it's fucking this, fucking that every other word, it's
Yeah, like the people in the first episode, a lot of them had New York accents, even though this was supposed to be in Hong Kong. It was hilarious.
In the far-flung future of early of the 21st century Hong Kong.
They were guessing there'd be a lot of New Yorkers there. An interesting speculative fiction choice, but
so just on the general discussion, what Kevin? Let's start with you because you watch like the sub, so you had a very different experience.
Because apparently, I came out of it thinking like I thought it had positive qualities. I kind of liked it to a certain extent.
Go into that a little bit because I'd like to hear like how your viewing experience differed from ours.
Well, I mean, okay, for starters, well, sometimes the animation is amazing. Sometimes. I guess I can't say the whole thing through, but sometimes the animation is excellent. And it's got a pretty good soundtrack throughout. That's a good skeleton, you know. But it's I don't know. I kind of liked like all three of the story arcs of kind of like the saddest. Like if they spent a little more time with it, it could be like the saddest drama ever made if there wasn't all these cyborgs and robots screwing shit up. And it's like I kind of like the little bread Elaine makes, and like I kind of like there's an implied story more than an actual shown story that seems like it's a really good drama in there. But and like later with in the second arc with the lady who lost her daughter and kind of adopts Elaine, it's like sort of, and or the third one with like just a nice couple trying to make it in the cold, cruel post-apocalypse. It's like I think those are not bad per se, but it's
the third arc is basically Living on a Prayer by Bon Jovi.
Yeah.
And I honestly think it might just because it was in Japanese and the actors were, taking it 100% serious, and they gave it a little more.
Mm-hmm.
They gave it a little more heart to it than there probably really was in the material. It's like, even though Elaine's dialogue still mostly consists of animalistic growls, and like the couple lines she has is the same actress who does Diana, and they're like telepathic. But
yeah. Elaine is ostensibly the protagonist, but to Kevin's point, she speaks very little unless it's telepathically. Think of her like a more human looking Blanca from Street Fighter, who has somehow even worse dialogue. Like Blanca at least will talk. He even though he growls and stuff, he can like converse. Not Elaine though. She just growls and big smiles and screams. Yeah, she's got like three emotions. It's like happy, sad, destroy Earth.
Yep.
And that's it.
Well, I mean, there's her, and then she's got her twin sister Diana, who is like, even though they don't look anything alike really, but I believe they are technically twins. But
yes,
Diana's has a body that just doesn't work. She's a cyborg to start with because she was born basically with a body that did not function. She has a brilliant brain and awesome telepathic powers, but her body is crap. Elaine, does have some telepathic powers, but she seemed to have more like telekinetic powers, and her body's in great shape, but she's like basically a mindless feral wolf child who, if everyone would leave her alone, it would be great. But unfortunately, no one leaves her alone, so shit keeps getting wrecked.
I will say visually, episode 1, which is kind of a double episode.
Yeah, it's very long.
Yeah, it's like 42 minutes or something, whereas the other ones are 25 minutes each. But they're two episode arcs. And we'll get into that. But they take way more swings and do way more interesting things in the first episode because there's a little bit of CGI and a little bit of like live action. And practical effects that are included there that make it a little bit more visually interesting, and
I liked any of the scenes when they're like, anyone's using telepathy to put like horrible nightmare images in people's brains. Those were all really cool scenes.
Yeah, especially the bug one. That was like, oh, that's actually freaky.
It was being experimental in a cool way when it did that, and I'm sad that didn't really continue on in the subsequent episodes.
No, and the show has a reputation for having a lot of gore, but it really does kind of like get less and less as the show goes on.
It kind of front loads its gore.
Yeah, I feel like by episode like 4 and 5, like the last arc, there really isn't that much. While I feel like the first 2 episodes there was a lot.
Like there is violence, don't get me wrong, but
like,
it's not.
Episode 1 has an amazing shot of one of the big killer boomer-esque cyborgs getting like ripped from like top to crotch in half completely.
That one is dope. That's like the best shot in the whole thing.
Like first person view as the body comes apart, and that was awesome. Like that's awesome by anybody's standards. But it's like it gets to be less and less of it, or it's more abstract body horror than opposed to like blood and guts.
Episode 2 has one of the most hilarious "I'm going to hell for laughing at this" sequences.
The intro?
Yeah.
It's
like the first 90 seconds, I'm laughing my ass off because like there's some shit going down.
Oh no.
Well, I guess before we transition into talking spoilers and specifics, did anyone else have anything on just kind of like the broader view of the show that they wanted to share?
Other than it might just be like if this continues as a series here, this OSMcast question mark. This continues as a series. This is probably actually the best show we're going to talk about.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
I don't agree with that.
In terms of you might watch it and like go, oh, this was kind of good in places. Not, wow. Like I don't mean like I don't necessarily mean the most fun to watch, but the one that might actually get into some people's good piles.
Okay, that's fair. Like we're going to talk about some ones that are way more fun to watch.
Yeah.
Like everybody knows that's like in on the OSMcast running jokes and stuff. They all know which one is coming, but I'm saving that for later, much later on.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you can't have your dessert till you eat your meat. That's
right.
I will say that I think the last arc was definitely the strongest one out of all. Like the first episode was definitely the best episode alone, but I think the last arc, like at least it felt like it had more meat to it. Felt like they were trying to say something a little more.
Right. I got something I want to say about that one, but it's got to wait till we get into actual episode discussion.
It wasn't like the best way that I've seen that kind of story try to be told, but I was like, okay, at least I guess you're trying a little bit more.
Yeah.
And I think that also I might have also felt that way because the dub was changed. I feel like they took it a little more seriously in those episodes.
Yeah.
All right. So when we come back, we're gonna get into spoilers. But in the meantime, enjoy this musical interlude. We are back. Gonna really get into the nitty gritty. We're gonna spoil the shit out of this thing.
I feel like the whole theme of the anime is that the human race sucks and we deserve to die. I think that was the theme.
Yeah, that is 100% the theme. Congratulations. You've cracked the code on this very deep anime. So episode 1, I've seen it listed as a couple of different things, but I'll go with what I have listed, the birth of Genocyber. It starts out with just an absolutely insane explanation. Psychic abilities and what they call in the show Vajra. Because the guy starts out by saying, if you were to take, the plane of human existence and draw far back, you would start to see mind shadows. And this is what they say in the English. I mean, I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, how fucking high are you that you're seeing mind shadows? Like, you go on fucking Google Maps and zoomed all the way up, and you think these fucking little, the icons in Waze or Google Maps or whatever, you think that shit's mind shadows? Is that what's going on here? It's a fucking cockamamie explanation of how this show's psychic abilities work. They talk about Vajra and Mandala, and it doesn't make any fucking coherent sense at all.
The one thing I've heard about the manga is it explains that concept a little better, apparently. But I'm gonna have to take the internet's word on that one because I haven't. One, I don't imagine how, but two, I have not read it. But that was the one thing I could find in praise of the manga over the end.
It goes through and lists like all the components of a human body. This is like there's some Vajra, there's some Mandala. It's called it Genocyber.
Yeah.
Why? It just sounded cool. Like, it's definitely not because I intend to destroy all of creation with this thing.
Yeah.
But
they also had this like thing about how like the whole world was like gonna kind of become one military, and I thought that was kind of strange.
Yeah,
I was like,
that's the backdrop.
I was like, how did they think that was gonna work out for them? Like, what's the point in having a military force if everyone gets along? So
to oppress the civilian populace.
True.
Yeah, that's like the backdrop this is set against, is that there is now like a one world order, and no idea why.
Yeah, there's not really any explanation. Just kind of like, we're gonna try to have this happen, but there are people who don't want this to happen. And I'm like, okay.
And it's the same thing for just the guy that we see at the beginning, who's revealed to be Elaine and Diana's real father, talking about creating the Vajranoid and Genocyber. It's like, we don't know why he wants to do it.
Nope.
We don't know. He just discovered mind shadows and really just followed that he went as far down that rabbit hole as he could with mind shadows and psychic powers and made this fucking cyborg.
Look, when lasers were first discovered, it took us a good 2-3 decades to actually figure out anything we could actually do with them.
Like, imagine the movie Oppenheimer, but where they're just like, I don't fucking know. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. It just seems cool, right?
I have become exposition forwarder of the plot.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, just imagine Oppenheimer with, like, no effort. Like, zero effort. If, who is the fucking dude who did all the video game adaptations?
Uri Geller, not Uri Geller. That's a psychic guy, but that's a whole other. Yui Ball.
Yeah. Imagine if he directed Oppenheimer. Like, that's what this fucking thing is, okay?
Yui Ball and Michael Bay's Oppenheimer.
I still don't get why they called it Vajra. The whole time I thought they kept saying something about vaginas. Very confused.
Yes. No, they talk about vaginas later where the guy's like, I'm gonna go get some pussy.
Yep.
Vajra is just one of those cool Eastern, but not Japanese Eastern, philosophical things that sound cool when you put it in your show.
Which I think, I was looking into this, Vajra translates into lightning, which doesn't really fit the idea of like psychic abilities or anything.
It's also kind of a weapon. Some of the Hindu gods have a Vajra, and it's in that things that are vaguely described, but they're definitely really cool, that there's a lot of in Hindu mythology.
Yeah.
Like, it could be a sword, it could be a club, it could be a goddamn nuclear bomb. We don't know.
It's so weird. Because it does start out with just Elaine and this, like, 10-year-old kid getting run up on by some bullies.
Yeah. And this poor kid just getting beat up because apparently he didn't steal enough money for this guy, who also is a middleman for this other guy. And he has a very, very New York accent. It talks like a huge asshole. Just
yes,
like,
he is.
"What up,
He is a huge
asshole?"
asshole.
I mean, yeah, that's fair. You know, he is a huge asshole.
He is taking the direction given. But then we also have Diana, who's sent out by who she believes her father to go find Elaine and bring her in because, you know, she's just out there and wild and doing God knows what.
That's a bad place for her to be. Not necessarily
Yes.
for her, just for everyone else.
Yes.
Yeah. And Diana has this real inferiority complex when it comes to Elaine because it's like the episode of Rick and Morty where, you know, the little creation comes up to Rick and is like, you know, creator, what is my purpose? And it's like, you know, you charge my phone. That's it. That's all you're here for. And it's the same with Diana. It's like you're here to control Elaine, and that's it. Like that's your only purpose in life. That's the only reason we have you. Because you know she's supposed to be able to control Elaine's Vajra, which, spoiler alert, she cannot.
Yeah,
at all.
she can't.
Not even a little bit.
Elaine got too damn strong for her.
Yeah, just running around hanging out with 10-year-olds. Her Roger got incredibly strong. Also, like if you're thinking about watching this, there is like some, you know, some sexual assault kind of stuff that happens early on with the mad scientist and his supposed daughter that's shown through like an X-ray.
And little kid too, with those bullets.
Yeah, the kid,
Yeah.
yeah, he gets his balls whipped out and felt up, and
Yeah, and Elaine.
It's weird, but you know, it's the '90s and anime. You know, these things happen.
Elaine gets forcibly groped and stuff. It's not a good time.
I don't remember what episodes it was in, but there's also a fair amount of lots of flashing lights.
Yes,
probably
there's
throughout.
all that.
Yeah,
Like I don't know, in case that's an issue
photo
for you.
sensitive.
Yeah, you may want to be aware.
This is before that episode of Pokemon that caused everybody to start taking photosensitivity seriously.
Yes.
So, you know, this is very much, you know, 90s, lots of flashing images, lots of flashing lights. So be mindful of that as well.
There's also just a lot of like not just gore, but like there's just some like physical assault between like the doctor guy and like Diana. I was like,
yeah,
he is not a good dad, even though he's not a real dad.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's shown through like an X-ray machine, but you can see what he's doing, and it's real fucked up.
Yeah, it's very fucked up, and she's literally crying from how much it hurts. So it's not a good time.
No.
Yeah. Honestly, if Kenneth, that was his name, if Dr. Kenneth was not such a dick, the story might not happen.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah,
he was the catalyst for all that.
But yeah, I mean, there's like other cyborgs in town who are trying to capture Elaine for somebody.
My understanding of this, and this is complicated by watching the dub, because they changed the name from like the Kuryu group, which they use in like the Central Park Media episodes, to I forget what they call it in the manga dub, but basically the organization, like the criminal organization that Kenneth went to get additional funding for their research, and you know, betrayed his partner and Elaine and Diana's real dad. Basically, they were pissed off at him because like he just like gone way too out of pocket for their liking.
Yes.
And so they sent like these fucking cyborgs, you know, to bring him in and
try to get Elaine
to hunt down Elaine.
Too. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they tried to bring back Diana, but that didn't work out for them.
No. And this all kind of coalesces in just like a, you know, 10-minute gore fest where like you've got Diana fighting Elaine because Diana's just like, you know what, fuck you. I'm tired of being like, you know,
your babysitter.
So I'm gonna, you know, I have decided I'm going to kill you instead of bringing you in.
Just gonna choke you.
Yeah,
that didn't go great. But
No, that didn't go great.
That also was like, I found it interesting that she like blamed Elaine and not, her father, who was like making both their lives worse. He was like, "Oh, it's all your fault," and I'm like, "Not really."
Diana's just kind of stupid.
Yeah.
Like I said, she's got a real inferiority complex, and that comes into play.
Although in actual real abusive families with multiple siblings, you do sometimes end up seeing the other sibling as the source of the problem instead of the abusive parent.
Yeah.
That's not unrealistic, to be honest.
No,
Oh, yeah.
no, it is not. It is not at all. Not that I would know. Anyhow,
But there's some choking and some stabbing and some dying and some possessing.
This is going to be a recurring theme. Death is permanent, except for when Genocyber decides it's not.
Yeah. Yeah.
I want to be very clear about this to our listeners. Elaine dies. She gets impaled by Diana with her cyber suit and dies. Period. Dead as hell. All right? And so the cyborgs from the courier group, they gather what's left of Diana, because literally at the stage of the episode, she's just a head connected to cybernetics. And Dr. Kenneth's like, put her in the mandala quick. And then a whole bunch of fucking, exposition happens that doesn't make any sense. The thugs are like, yeah, fuck you, whatever, we're taking them back. And somewhere in this, Elaine basically possesses Diana, like takes over her mind, and then, subsequently going forward, takes over her appearance. Like, Diana no longer looks like Diana. Nope. She's Elaine now.
Yeah.
It makes no sense. It is not explained in the slightest, but that's what happens. She breaks loose. She's got a new cybernetic body. She turns into Genocyber.
Unholy hybrid of, biology and machine. Genocyber's design is pretty awesome.
Yeah, it is pretty cool. Especially the wings and how that works is really cool.
I also like, it looks very much like the cyborg battle armor that Diana has. It's in broad general sense, it looks like that, but it's kind of like if it hulked out.
Yeah, we didn't really give mention much to the third member of the courier group's cybernetic soldiers, the one that sees bugs everywhere and say that they're in his brain, and he literally tears open his skull and starts scooping out his brains.
Little drills from his fingers.
Yeah, that was interesting. They just become drills, and he's like...
That was the weird thing about the cyborgs. They just had as much mass as they needed hidden inside their bodies somehow.
Correct.
They just turned into 20 times their size easy,
like the woman literally rips her tits off to expose the cybernetic undercasing, and then she gets a Gatling gun that comes out of her mouth, and she's like, it's fucking gross.
Yes. It's gross but cool at the same time. Like when you see her head extend forward, I'm like, okay, that's actually pretty sick. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
They fight. Elaine punches one of them through a plane, which is important later. Yeah. Believe it or not, it becomes important.
Yeah, it comes up later.
Yeah, and then Elaine kills them and runs the ghost of the little boy she was hanging out with, because he is killed somewhere in action. It happens off screen. He's held hostage by one of them. Then they fight, and somewhere in between, off screen, he dies. And then she sees his ghost, and he's like, hey, thanks, you were my best friend. I'm sorry we can't hang out anymore. I'm going to hell, I guess. See ya. And he disappears, and Elaine freaks the fuck out. And then she turns into a phoenix, and then there's a white screen with text that says, on that day, Hong Kong mysteriously exploded and vanished off the face of the earth. And that is the end of episode 1. I don't know, Kevin, if this is in the version you watched. I really hope it is, because the credits, they played Fairy Dreamin'.
Yeah.
And it's just Elaine against a black background. And it's just like a still image, like a PNG cutout, okay?
Yeah.
And she just rotates around on the exact trajectory of a minute hand on a clock, okay? And it's just her doing that over and over while the credits go by, and I'm like, what the fuck is this?
See, I skipped the credits, so I actually did not see that.
Yeah, I'll share it later, but it's incredibly stupid.
Yeah.
That brings us to the second arc,
That
which
being
is
said, if that, the first time I saw that, I came out of it thinking, oh, this seems kind of neat. I wonder where it's going.
I would have found this way more traumatic and scary if I was 12, like I was when this actually came out.
Yes.
Yeah.
If I had like gone to Suncoast or Camelot or wherever the fuck I was buying my anime VHS those days, and had come away with Genocyber for some reason, I probably would have been more scarred by that.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. I feel like they also like really tried to make us feel bad about the boy dying and like their friendship, and I'm like, they basically hung out for like a day, 2 days maybe, and
then Elaine responds rationally by killing every other child in Hong Kong.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like they had like that sad music when she was talking to his ghost, and I was like, I kind of don't care though. Like you didn't really develop their relationship. Like I kind of forgot the kid was there. To be honest,
he was gonna go get some pussy like that kid, like that older kid told him to. So yeah, that brings us to episode 2 and 3. The second arc, Vajranoid Attack and Global War, are the episode names respectively. And boy, episode 2 starts out with a bang.
Yeah, literally multiple of them.
With a bang. Look, never have children being mowed down by a minigun been so realistically depicted in anime.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, like they went all the way out. See, okay, it just opens with kids running around on a beach getting opened fire on by a fucking helicopter with this minigun, and they're getting blown the fuck apart in excruciating and intricately drawn detail.
This is the future Ron DeSantis wants.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, brown kids getting shot up by a minigun. That is the future Ron DeSantis one.
And Elaine's just kind of there being like, what the
fuck? She made friends with some more children.
Yeah, ostensibly they're hunting down Elaine, right? Because she's on the loose. She wiped out Hong Kong. And they're just but they're mowing down these kids. Like it almost seems intentionally. They're like, you know what? I don't really care about the girl. Let's shoot these kids. This will be funny.
Very much.
You know what? Like, fuck them kids.
Yeah, never have them kids been fucked quite so gruesomely. And somehow Elaine makes it out of there unscathed and winds up on an aircraft carrier.
Big giant double-decker aircraft carrier, sort of, or double-hulled. It's like it's a mega aircraft carrier.
Not real clear how she ends up from A to B.
They just found her, and
yeah, it was like, oh, I found this girl. Oh.
Look, there's a blonde girl. She obviously doesn't belong out here. Let's bring her back to the American warship.
Yeah, this is also the premise for Elfin Lead, which is like these kids just find this girl somewhere, and they're like, instead of calling the cops or taking her to a hospital, let's just take her back to our place. It'll be fine. So they bring her back onto this aircraft carrier, where incidentally they have a scientist there who is also working on Vajranoid technology, for lack of a better term. Like he's picked up where our dear departed friend Kenneth has left off, and he's developing a Vajranoid for the U.S. military.
Yeah. To be fair, I could not follow whether the Vajranoid was supposed to be a cyborg or a robot.
I think he's supposed to be just a robot because he
he's
some sort of
cyborg
of human souls in a robot body. I don't know.
Yeah, because it's the pilot that shot those kids is, I believe, what is implied.
Oh,
because he sees the kids.
Yeah.
And he starts freaking the fuck out.
We see the ghost children. True. We see the ghosts of the dead children throughout the rest of the two parts.
Yeah, the ghost kids are haunting this thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like
So,
the
yeah,
robot goes, the robot only goes wrong because the robot was getting haunted.
Yeah.
Which is maybe a first in fiction.
I do remember the scientist making like a comment about how like, oh, if you just use human bodies, then something goes wrong and like their brains turn to mush or something. So it's very weird. So that's why I thought he was a robot. I was like, is this his way of saying don't use people?
Well, I think his workaround, because like again, the Vajra supposedly comes from like humans.
Yeah.
When we draw way back out and we start seeing those fucking mind shadows. So I think his workaround was to take somebody who is practically dead and just suppress them all the way to where it's just like, okay, I have a functioning body that will do what I tell it to.
Okay, so like cyborg Frankenstein, pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much.
Nothing can go wrong here with this idea.
Nothing can possibly go wrong.
Right. Well, and if there wasn't another ridiculously powerful psychic cyborg on board, and if there wasn't the ghosts of dead children haunting him,
it might have gone fine.
Yeah.
It might have worked out for him.
Look, we just wanted to build a robot that could merge with any machine and therefore control it beyond the capacity of any human pilot. It's a simple dream.
I feel like it's kind of good that didn't work out because America having that kind of a power sounds very scary.
Never mind the real one world.
This was 1990s America, though. It was far more quaint.
Oh man.
Our biggest problem was our president smoking weed. It was our national crisis.
Oh, but Elaine gets basically adopted as a nurse, who's because she looks like a daughter who was in that airplane from episode 1.
So she adopted her daughter's killer, essentially.
Yes. This is what happens. Elaine is adopted by a nurse on board who lost her daughter in a plane crash, which just so happened to be the plane crash caused by Elaine when she was fighting those cyborgs. Like when she just fucking punched one through an airplane. This poor woman's daughter, who was supposedly the same age as Elaine, although like it doesn't really look like she is.
No.
Got killed in this accident, quote unquote. And yeah, so she adopts Elaine, looks after her. Of course, the other Navy men on board are treating her like shit.
Yeah, they're like, "Oh, you're weird because you're a cyborg," even though there's plenty of cyborgs around.
Well, not only that, but she also doesn't know how to eat.
Yeah.
Like she's got this tray of spaghetti and she's trying to figure out what the fuck am I supposed to do with this?
She's just sucking it up from the tray.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Navy people are either the nicest people you ever met or total assholes without a lot of in between. It's kind of a coin toss.
True.
And yeah, so our Vajranoid test pilot, they do like a test flight with him. It's going really well. Then he starts seeing the ghost of dead kids that he probably shot. And, things start going haywire. And then the doctor's embarrassed and he's like, fuck this piece of junk. And, how dare you embarrass me? And shit starts to go sideways. For some reason, the Vajranoid and Elaine, I guess they start to fight. Like, they were in close proximity, and it's like, okay, we gotta fight now.
Yeah, that was rules.
He did mention he spoke to the computer.
Danger. Yeah, I tried to warn him through the computer that she's dangerous. It might have had good intentions. To a certain point within the story, the Vajranoid might have had good intentions. It's hard to tell, but
yeah.
Yeah, that might also explain why he, if that is the one who shot the kids, why he did. Maybe he was actually trying to go after her, but, it's like, well, I'm going to shoot these kids. They're in the way. So that might also have been that explanation.
Be sure.
Yeah, but then, of course, he missed and just killed the kids instead.
Oh, she probably, deflected the bullet telekinetically for all we know. But, and, as we established in the last episode, Genocyber, Elaine is not dead, and till, unless Genocyber wants to be dead.
Yep.
And even that's not a sure thing.
The preceding fight does something kind of gross, kind of interesting, because in episode 3 we start to see this fight progress, and then we start to see like the Vajranoid starting to take over the ship.
Yeah, the whole ship just becomes one.
Yeah.
And not only just the ship, but like all the people.
Yeah, every single person. Just
Yeah, you start seeing like faces in the walls and shit. It's really creepy looking.
Yeah, it's lit.
And our doctor friend, she becomes increasingly more unhinged as the episode progresses. Like it's a lot of action here, and then like they end up running onto the deck to try and get away from like all the weird shit that's happening on board. And then the scientist is out there too, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I've merged with the ship. I've merged with the Vajranoid, and I can control it." Which lasts for about 3 seconds before the doctor puts an axe in his skull.
He just axes him.
And then he just becomes a monster like the rest of the show.
Yeah.
He's like, you combined with this ultimate powerful thing, but all it took was an axe to your head to die.
Yeah.
Like, that was pretty weird.
At that point, she's basically yelling at Elaine, "Protect mommy."
Yeah.
Which, she is completely unhinged.
Kill everyone on the ship. Just get me out.
Everyone.
And Elaine promises her, "You won't die," which she does this a couple of times in the course of the series, and every time she does it, it doesn't work out well for the person who doesn't die. Like, just feels like you won't die. You'll get left behind in this hell I've created.
Yep. You'll just have PTSD forever instead. Yay!
Yeah, and it ends with, after Elaine's destroyed the ship, destroyed the monster in the middle of it and everything else, the doctor gets flown out in a helicopter, and when they get to shore, Genocyber's there torching everything.
Yeah.
Just destroying everything indiscriminately. And the doctor's like, "Hey, come get mommy."
Yeah.
And that's how it ends.
Yeah, she was just like, "I can't be without you," and I'm like, well,
I
okay,
like to pretend she started the cult that ends up in the the third arc,
Oh, yeah.
even though like 400 years would have had to have passed. I like to think she started the branch of that religion because they got all like the Genocyber murals and stuff.
Yeah.
Not that, also according to the exposition, Genocyber apparently spent 100 years destroying the Earth, so that was.
And somehow there was still a society at all.
Yeah. Genocyber spends at least 100 years, although it does say 2400 AD at one point,
right,
during episodes 4 and 5, which is the Legend of Arctic Rond.
I do like the scenes we get of Genocyber, in the process of apocalypsing the world.
Yeah,
let's be realistic. Elaine probably got bored and wandered off for a decade or two within there, at least a few times, before they, somebody picked a fight again.
Yeah.
We just have to assume.
The English narration is funny because it's a computer voice being like, Tokyo destroyed.
Yeah.
Los Angeles, no chance of survivors. Just varying ways of saying everything is fucked.
Yeah.
Various locations are fucked. Everything is fucked. 100% destruction. They just really went in on how many different ways can we say everything is fucked. And there's a space station for some reason.
Yeah, that I was confused about. I was like, where did this come from?
Yeah, it's apparently built to destroy Genocyber, but not very effective at it.
That's kind of the running theme. Whatever you think is going to kill Genocyber, it's not going to kill Genocyber.
Yeah, I think it's also said that it was built by the Koryu group, so like they're still around in some way. But
yeah, I'm pretty sure like the old man in the start of episode 3 is like the little kid president of the Koryu group from like the second episode.
Yeah, it would be 300 years old at this point.
Yeah.
Well, it's his relative, very, very a long time later. Generations later.
He could be a cyborg,
Yeah, he could be a cyborg.
I got the impression, because I think, at least in the subs, it was like our 100-year war was something he said. I got the impression that's like as far as he actually got. And then like 300 more years passed after like Genocyber had nominally stopped being active. And then, that's where we get our, apocalyptic future.
Yeah. And this is a very different story arc because
Yeah.
Elaine is barely in it.
Yeah.
I don't even know if she has any dialogue, like any actual dialogue.
Well, like one line, and it's the same as Diana's actress, who actually gets more time than she got in part 2. Like, but they're like, it's like Genocyber is a bit player in the story, to be honest. It's more of the Diabolus ex machina at the end of the story.
Yeah, it follows this guy named Ryu who we don't know anything about, not the first fucking thing, and his girlfriend Mel, who
we know she's blind.
I was about to say her defining character trait, 100% of her character is she's blind. And she apparently has some level of psychic ability.
Yeah.
Because she's blind, but she can tell you exactly what things look like. She is Stevie Wonder. That's go dig in that rabbit hole for a while when you're done here, kids. That is Stevie Wonder actually blind.
We do know that Ryu can throw knives. He's a knife thrower. It's that's one thing we know about him.
That's his one marketable skill. And I believe they gave that to him just for one reason.
Yeah, just for the catalyst, yeah.
Yeah. And they've cut the whole. It's set in the Arc de Grande, which is like probably the one technologically-ish advanced city left on Earth, maybe.
Probably the last bastion of actual civilization. That
it's
isn't
implied there's other places where people are living in the world, but this is
Yeah, it's more Mad Max, Fist of the North Star kind of shit, where like this is a honest to God city.
Like, it may be kind of like, a Judge Dredd city, but it's a
yeah, it's a very authoritarian city.
It is an authoritarian police state,
It's a fascist hellhole.
Yeah.
Much like, Florida.
Yeah.
Even the mayor is a white guy who looks like he would be a president or a mayor of somewhere here.
Yeah, the mayor's right-hand man is named Radneck.
Yeah, I thought he said redneck, and I was like, what?
I know, right? Even in Japanese, it was like, did he just call him Redneck?
I was like, and then he said it again, I was like, oh, Radneck.
Radneck.
Nathan Radneck Spencer.
Yeah, I'll just, Radneck, Mr. Let's just kill people on my authority. I'll explain to the mayor later.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, also, this is like a funny thing, but like, in the English dub, the sex scene that the two have is just so funny. The way that they like made noise, they were just like, oh. I was like,
it's actually legit kind of sweet in the Japanese version.
Yeah, it's supposed to be them making love, but it's also kind of like Ryu is just kind of barely moving.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I could tell they were trying to make it sweet. Like they're like, oh yeah, we love each other, we have each other in this shitty world, but then
it's like not a hentai sex scene, but
but like it was also just awkward, not even just because of the voice acting, but like the dialogue that he was just saying while they were having sex was complaining about this city sucks ass. And I'm like, why are you talking about this? Why are you talking about this though while you're making love? This is kind of weird.
To be fair, and this is going to hit on one of Kevin's longtime favorites. It's not the weirdest sex dialogue in a sex scene I've ever heard.
No, it's not. It just felt like it kind of ruined the mood it was trying to do.
It's not like they were talking about meal planning for the week.
Honey, did you do the laundry? No. Oh, well, after this, you're going to hear it from me.
You guys should really watch Utena if you haven't. We need to do an episode on Utena. Have we done that already? Did I miss out on that?
We did a movie episode. Basil keeps threatening to do the TV series, but we haven't yet.
We really should. We really should.
Yeah, you should. I love that.
Heck, I think we considered revisiting the movie, but that's a whole other.
I would be 100% on board for that. Like I've watched that movie a few times already. It hasn't been that long since I saw it for the first time, but I've watched it a few times. Anyway, Yeah, so Ryu and Mel, they're in the city to try and get Mel some eye surgery to fix her blindness. They run up on this fascist hellscape. They're pretty quickly cast into the refugee vagrant status.
Yeah.
And in order to improve their luck, Ryu, starts doing knife throwing, to small crowds. Mel does her psychic shit. Like, they blindfold her so people know for sure she can't see. But then they're like spinning a tiny handheld roulette wheel, which is actually kind of cool. I think I want one of those for D&D.
Yeah, those dice are nice too that she had.
Yeah, that like a little roulette wheel would be fun for D&D dice. That would be a fun dice tower to have. But she's like, it's blue 5 and red 2 or whatever, and they're like, oh my god, she knows what it is.
You have a mirror in your pocket. I do have a mirror in my pocket. Surely you are the chosen of God. Wait, that comes later.
Yeah, that does come later. She Miss Cleo's her way around, and he's throwing knives, and he ends up throwing knives for entertainment at like one of the exclusive clubs for rich people.
Yeah, get together for rich weirdos where they, the kind of place you wear masks so nobody knows who you really are.
Yes, because you're doing very terrible things.
Yeah, that's exactly the place we're talking about.
Yeah.
And so he does his knife toss on the target, and they're like, ooh, he's so good. And then he's still blindfolded, but somehow he's able to tell that they've done something to the target. And the guy's like, don't worry about it. Just go ahead and throw your knives like you always do, and remember how much you're getting paid. And he's like, all right, fuck it, whatever. So he throws knives, takes off the blindfold. Uh-oh. There's a guy bound and gagged to the target table that this man has just unknowingly killed, and he freaks out and runs off. And
I honestly think it's poor form of the rich weirdos. It seemed like it was implied they just did it to like have an excuse to
pretty much
get rid of him, or at least he took it that way. But I am offended by the rich weirdos not being so rich and so weird that they would just like, oh, don't worry about it, man.
Yeah, we
this
do this
happens
all
here all the time. It's cool.
Don't worry about it, man. This is just a sex thing. We're all fapping to this, okay?
Yeah. Oh, we're still paying you. Yeah. You still go home.
Yeah, we're still gonna pay you. You did entertain us. Just you did something really terrible.
See, that's what I like. If I was the rich sadistic weirdo in this scenario, I would at least pay the performers properly. The ones I didn't. The ones I hadn't chosen for death, at least.
Yeah, they like ratting him out basically to the cops. So the cops are after him, and I'm like,
Also, the whole thing with a resistance group, and our characters aren't even actually really technically connected to them, but one of them bumps into our protagonist like a detonator for a bomb or something, just because he bumped into the guy who actually had it, and he slipped it in his pocket real quick to run away. And it's. And that just creates a whole mess.
Yes, so they're on the run, and they end up in some sort of literal hellhole with all these dead bodies and skeletons and shit. And Mel is crawling around, and she ends up falling through the ground.
Quicksand. It becomes like quicksand.
Yeah, like quicksand. And falls into this temple of Genocyber, for lack of a better way of describing it. Because there's like the mural and everything to Genocyber. Yeah. And that's the end of part 1. Part 2 picks up directly from that. Mel wakes up and Ryu's gone, doesn't know where he's at. He's been picked up by the cops.
Yeah, and she's been picked up by the cult.
Yeah, she's been picked up by the cult, and because she has psychic powers, they think that she is like an emissary from God.
I was watching it, and it's like there's a guy who, weirdly looks like Jesus, who's like the cult leader. But he's like talking about the coming apocalypse, and I'm like, man, Christians are literally here after the apocalypse, still saying the end is coming. The end came, motherfucker. The end came.
No, the real one with Jesus and everything else.
If the rapture happened, you missed it.
This cult was like probably the nicest people in this whole thing.
They were too. They were pretty nice.
A cult, but like I was like, oh no, they're pretty harmless for a cult. Like all you have to do is say you believe.
They're growing their own food. Yeah, they're growing their own food. They're saying don't be an asshole. I mean, we might have gotten into the weirder stuff if we stuck with them a little longer. They might have had a seedy underbelly, but
But they're like,
yeah.
yeah, they're like, you know what?
Yeah.
Fuck these fascists. Yeah, they were kind of chill for a cult.
Look, they're rebelling against the social norms, which in this case means being a good person.
And this is when shit gets weird, right? Because as she's close to the Genocyber temple and everything, she starts to hear Diana's voice. Diana, who's been conspicuously absent up to this point. And on top of everything else to make this super weird, this woman who was born a solid 300 years after Diana exclusively refers to Mel as Big Sister.
Yeah, that confused me a lot. I was like, why is she calling her sister? Like, especially her big sister. I was like, what's going on?
Ostensibly, she'd be older than, Elaine and Diana were, at episode 1, but it still makes zero sense.
It's kind of like, there's kind of the polite Japanese way of addressing, someone who's older than you, but not really necessarily an adult, like in a polite sense. But it's not like Diana ever talked like that prior for what we saw her. So maybe in a spiritual sense, because they're all psychics, but I don't know. I'm not sure what they were going
That's
for.
what I was thinking, was that it was probably just, well, you have psychic abilities like us, so you're basically a sister in that sense.
There's sort of a karmic connection, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and she's pregnant.
You find one random line of, "Oh, this sucks holding your unborn child." I'm like,
she's like, "Where are you, Ryu? You don't know it, but I'm carrying your unborn child." And it's like, oh, okay,
that's dramatic as hell.
It's like I can't be your emissary from God. I fuck.
I'm pregnant, and not from Jesus.
No, me and Ryu, we fucked. I mean, yeah, he lasted like 3 seconds, but
yeah,
we did in fact fuck.
But so it's all it's strangely but as we said, it's strangely kind of nice in cultist town, and until the fascists roll in,
the fascists roll in.
Oh yeah, like it's a little side jump, but our people come in on a train. Our heroes come in on a train, and I'm like, oh yeah. Yep, they're making the trains run on time. They're fascists.
Thank you for reminding me of this, because 300 years later, and the train is still the best they got. They are committed to the train.
Look, it's hard to rebuild society after a killer cyborg has, wrecked your infrastructure. There's just not enough resources for humans to make a good start over if we had to. It probably took a while to get to trains.
but yes, good call out by Kevin. They do make the trains
at least
run on time.
It's not like the Elon Musk underground one car thing that he's trying to do.
Yeah.
Elon Musk just wants people to suffocate inside of his creation. That's clear based on his history.
It's very fucked up kink.
Yeah,
but the fascists roll in because they've erroneously decided that the cultists must be part of the resistance, and if nothing else, it's just fun to kill people.
Hey, burning poor people! Whee! That's pretty much what happened.
Yeah, they come in on hang gliders and with flamethrowers. They're obviously here for a good time. This isn't protecting law and order. They're just here to kill some people.
I swear to God, this predates End of Ava by several years. But the cops of the hang gliders, they fucking circle around like those production model Avas.
They do.
We are here to fuck shit up. So the fascists roll in. Jesus guy is like, oh fuck these fascists. And then they turn to shoot Mel for whatever reason. I guess just because they know he's involved. She's involved with Ryu, so it's like, oh, Ryu's, you have to die too, even though Ryu isn't actually part of this terrorist plot. So they go to shoot her. The priest jumps in the way, and then they cut away. And 2 seconds later, Mel and everybody else is shot up to shit. And it's weird that they cut away. This is Genocyber we're talking about. They were not shy about shooting up a bunch of kids. I don't know why they didn't want to shoot up the pregnant lady, but they didn't.
You draw the line.
Okay, well, kill kids.
This is
We'll
where we
kill
draw
kids,
the
but not
line.
a pregnant person with a baby.
Much like Republicans, we'll kill actual children, but we won't show you killing a fetus.
Yes, correct. And so, Mel being very much dead, Ryu being presumed dead, although like he was just kind of catatonic the last time we saw him.
I think he was just drugged to hell and still just at their like police state
Yeah,
headquarters
I think
place.
Diana
You know,
like messed with his head or something.
I think I won't pretend it's at all clear what's going on a lot of the time. But I think
Yeah,
that's
I
what was
think
going
it was
on.
something like Diana kind of like messed with his head using, telekinesis power, and it put him in like a basically drugged like state, and then he was like, "Where the hell am I?"
Yeah.
But it's
But now, once again, we have someone who is very much dead as hell, shot to shit, bullet holes in their neck and head and everywhere else.
yep.
Reaching out psychically to Elena at this point, who again has barely been in these proceedings, and is like, you know what? Fuck this city. Let's burn it to the ground. Genocyber comes rising up
And now we got like triple
in a new form for some reason.
We got like triple Genocyber now. We've got like 3 souls powering it, so it's like kaiju size. Well,
yeah,
like kaiju size, but a good 20, 30 feet tall
Yeah,
at
it
least.
looked really cool. It reminded me of like Summoned Skull
Oh,
from
yeah,
Yu-Gi-Oh! A lot.
A bit. Yeah, I see that. And it, has a good stomp through the city, torching fascists, wrecking buildings, got fire breath for some reason because I don't know, it's channeling Godzilla today.
So yeah, it fucks Arctigrand, then it flies into space, fucks that space station I was telling you about. That's barely in this for some reason, but they're like, fuck this space station too.
Yeah, space station's like, oh, there's Genocyber. I was built to kill Genocyber. Let's try to kill Genocyber. Oh shit, I got Genocyber's attention.
The Genocyber killed me.
Fuck.
Shit.
It crashes it into the atmosphere.
Yes.
It might have landed on Arctigrand, but it's a little vague. It seems like that's what's implied.
After having fucked everything that is left, possibly on the entire planet and in space, Diana finally gets through to Elaine. Hey, you know what? We probably shouldn't be. We probably should not only not be doing this, we probably shouldn't even be part of this existence. We just need to fuck off into nothingness for the rest of time. And, they do. Genocyber falls back, onto the Earth. And miraculously, somehow, Mel and Ryu are now not dead and not, fucked. And we hear a baby crying. And then we get a couple of still images of maybe it was Elaine and Diana as kids. Maybe it's their kids and they look suspiciously like Elaine and Diana. Don't know what that's really going for at all. And then the credits roll, and we're just confused as hell.
And
that's the end of Genocyber.
Yeah, the ending I felt like was very.
Possibly
I felt like the ending was very like, how do we end this? And they're like, I guess we save those two. Pretty much the only likable characters in this, and yeah.
We'll throw some still images, whatever it's done. Fucking send this one. We got this one in the can. What do we got next? Gotta make some more pornographic cartoons for these kids.
So we're gonna do Genocyber 6 to make that make sense, right?
Okay, you're lucky we got 5 episodes.
Yeah, we'll get around to 6. Don't worry, it's definitely happening.
Shinji Aramaki's Genocyber 6 coming in 2025. It'll be awful CG and you'll hate it. But
so guys, now that we've reached the end of our tale here, how many awesomes out of awesome do you give Genocyber?
That's an interesting question.
I give it several shot up kids out of awesome. Like that's gonna be my takeaway from this.
Yeah, I give it 2 to 3 psychic girls making a horrible monster out of awesome.
20 New York accent assholes out of 100 awesomes.
I'm glad that you call on very quickly the fact that the awesome skill is completely and utterly arbitrary and meaningless. It's like whose lane is.
It's all made up and the points don't matter.
That's right.
But man, Fairy Dreamin' slaps though.
Yes,
Fairy Dreamin' slaps.
Yeah, the music is really good in it. I like the theme song that plays too. Like I have to give them that. The music was really good.
What the dun 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 dun.
I mean, it definitely suits the the irresistible motion of the Genocyber as
Yeah.
it just wrecks the shit of whatever is in front of it. It's like it cannot be stopped. I love all the. I think I said that already, but I love all the scenes and like the fourth and fifth where you get the flashbacks of Genocyber like basically fighting the world. And just anything they threw at it just got wrecked.
So, ladies and gentlemen, appreciate you going with us on this ride that was Genocyber. We are the OSMcast. You can find us at awesomecast.com. That's OSMcast.com. This podcast is edited by the lovely, talented, and sexy Anna Burchakis. Check us out on YouTube. It's under OSMcast. I don't know if we have a dedicated link for the channel yet. It's still relatively new, but there is content on there. Some awesome interviews, and probably this if you're not already watching it on YouTube. So go ahead and mash that subscribe button, comment, all that other algorithm shit. Social media, pretty much everywhere at OSMcast, OSMcast. I am pretty much everywhere, but my social media usage is pretty sparse. I lurk far more than I actually post, but you can find me at J5islive. That's the letter J, the number 5 is live. If you can't spell is live, I really can't fucking help you. And Kevin, where can people find you?
On Twitter, and I will be continuing to call it Twitter. I'm at Twitless_Kevin. I am also on Blue Sky at rebelrobo.bsky.social. I lurk more on both either than I talk, but I am thinking about getting into my once the new season of anime starts, I'm thinking about getting back into my episode 1 brief blurb reviews that I used to do on Twitter, but doing those on Blue Sky if you're there, because Twitter's going down the toilet, guys.
It's halfway down the bowl.
Yeah, but that's where you would find me.
What about you, Abby? Where can people find you?
I really only have Blue Sky and Instagram. I used to have Twitter, deleted that. Used to have Facebook a while ago, deleted that. But on Blue Sky, I'm Green Gremlin, just like my Final Fantasy character's name.
There we go. So Abby, how was your maiden voyage into podcasting?
Oh, it's been fun. I thought I would do. I don't know if I did good, but I thought I would do worse than I did.
No, I had high expectations for you coming into this. I think you met those expectations. In fact, exceeded. I think this is gonna go well, guys. I've got high hopes for more of these episodes. And again, mentioned it before, mention it again. Join our Discord. Our Discord has lots of cool people. You can go to our character name thread if you just need a character for your name for your Baldur's Gate 3 character,
or any character at all.
We have you fucking covered.
I don't know how many entries we've got on this, but it is still rolling for a whole 24 hours now, at least.
Yeah, by the time people actually hear this podcast, there will be many, many more names. All right, guys, that's the fucking awesome cast. We'll see you guys next time.